Hey everybody, come on in, come on in. It's so good to have all of you here with us. Welcome to the rundown. I'm so excited that you all are here. We have a very special show for you today. It's such an incredible time to be with all of you. We get to talk about things that are impacting our lives. So, well, won't you come on in, invite people, share this with folks. We really want to make sure that everybody is here with us and we get to kind of talk about things that are really impacting our lives. So, you guys come on and we can discuss. I'm going to wait for some folks to get in here. Um, let's see who we've got coming. Um, so we're just going to wait a few seconds for some folks to come on and we get to talk about things. Hi, DJ. Welcome. It's so good to
Hi.
have you.
Oh, it's good to finally be on after my short hiatus.
You're short. It was a very short hiatus, but he's here and we're so happy to have him back. Arty is taking the week off, as we know, and also Jonah is taking the week off. So we get to have a little bit of a one-on-one conversation with folks today. So I'm really excited. We've got Brett from Boston coming on later in the show, and it is so exciting to have them here. They're going to be talking about some food scarcity issues and some things that are really impacting the people of Boston and around the world with food scarcity and food insecurity and so many things that they're working towards with their initiative. And then we've also got Jordy, who's going to possibly be coming on the show. So it's just a really interesting time and really interesting fun stuff that we've got going on. But until I see the accounts that we're looking for, I want to talk about Biden's joint address to Congress. Did you watch? I watched. I watched the whole thing.
Of
Um,
course.
so I watched the whole thing. So, Kent, so what were your thoughts on the on the speech by the president?
I thought it was very impactful. Just a side note, other than the speech, history was made that night. Two women sitting behind the president, so that was a great thing to watch. Um, I definitely think he laid a good framework out for the legislative agenda, especially for this year. And as we know, he did this to lay things out so Democrats and Republicans can come meet in the middle with some compromise for things. Because as we know, there's going to be a time when the 50 vote filibuster is not going to be a thing, like avoiding the filibuster.
Yeah.
So he even explained it. He did this so he could lay out his agenda and then be able to compromise with Republicans on issues, because there are certainly issues that we can agree on. Um, so I definitely thought he gave a really good speech. He talked about every law well, um, and now we just need to work with everyone in Congress to get the laws passed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think when you listen to the president yesterday, there was not a stutter. There was not a mumbling of the word. I think that this was his best speech yet. I
Mm-hmm.
think he knew the importance of that day. I think on the eve of his first 100 days, I think he understood the importance of speaking directly to the American people about issues that were affecting them. There wasn't a lot of fear mongering.
Nope.
I just want to note he talked about the American Jobs Plan, which we've been hearing a lot from the press secretary speaking about the jobs plan. Uh, and then he talked about a new plan that he's rolling out called the American Families Plan, dealing with child poverty and sort of those kinds of things. So I think he is really laying the foundation and the groundwork for a true sense of getting America back. And I love that. I think every plan, this isn't called the Biden plan, it's called the American plan. I think that this was a plan that really focused and targeted America. It wasn't like Donald Trump. You know, Trump was not Trump was the center of every one of his policies, whether that be foreign policy, whether that be domestic policy. He had a plan. Speaking of President Biden, he had a plan in place so that we can talk about these things today. So I think kudos to the Biden administration for really laying out a plan straight. But I just want to say that Republicans yesterday, or Wednesday, excuse me, Republicans Wednesday, some of them were sleeping throughout the speech. Um, and I think, and I'll ask you, I think that when you're in Congress, you're representing Congress. Now, I myself, me personally, I kind of fell asleep a little bit during speech. Don't tweet me later and say, how could you? I'm just saying I fell asleep a little bit. But I think the other thing is, then you hear Tim Scott say that there's no racism in America, being a black person in America. So there's just kind of like this really weird thing in the Republican Party where if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a chicken. I don't know where they are right now. I want to ask, where do you think the Republican Party should be at the moment in regard to certain issues like this? I mean, this is a huge speech. It was the first one. And if any Democrat was sleeping while Trump was talking, then, well, we'd have a problem.
Are you talking about are you asking me to elaborate on where they are right now or where they
Yeah,
should be in an
yeah,
ideal situation?
yeah, yeah. I want you to kind of speak to that as well.
Well, I definitely think especially after January 6th, there's been a split in the Republican Party where we have people standing up for Donald Trump and standing up for democracy in the Republican Party. Um, and I don't really know if they're one cohesive party. It's just like a bunch of factions under one umbrella term. Um, so that's what I think. I definitely think to be an effective party, they need to make an actual agenda instead of just being anti-Biden and anti-democracy, if that makes sense. Like they need to have a true agenda, have their points instead of just nitpicking. And this is for both sides on an issue. Like people need to stop, and it's definitely gotten better especially after Wednesday when we had a plan for all these bills. But just on any issue, they need to have a plan with what they're going to do. And especially if they want to win people over, like they're not doing anything. They're just digging themselves into a bigger hole.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. More specifically, I think that they're digging themselves into a hole. Republicans didn't acknowledge the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, the PRO Act, the right to unionize, and the Equality Act, which is for LGBTQ plus Americans. Why do you think that is? I mean,
I would hope that they'd have a conscience and think in the lens of it's not the government to decide what their citizens do with, like, even just with reproductive health, because that's another issue that Republicans are so up in arms about. Um,
All right.
it's
What's up,
it's
everybody?
so
just crazy.
yeah.
Hello?
So David, I saw your comment,
Mm-hmm.
and as the moderator of this show, I think it's important to have people on with different views and different opinions. I want to hear what you have to say when it comes to some of the things that we were just referring to.
Well, there wasn't really too much to talk about, but like the first thing that I really did, I wouldn't say exactly well, I guess kind of disagree with, but I remember seeing on your guys' story that a reposted kind of tweet about like Ted Cruz somewhat looking sleepy during Joe Biden's a speech to the Congress, I remember saying it, I'm paraphrasing here. It was something about like oh, is this what a politician exactly looks like? I kind of think that everybody's freaking out a little bit too much about this because like right wingers are kind of thinking like, oh, this is what oh, Joe Biden's like a really boring person. We need Trump back. No, not exactly. And people who are on the left kind of think that like, oh, is this really what a politician is supposed to be like? I think that there's a lot of factors going into this, because Joe Biden is a lot more of a calm person than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump's a really, loud and vibrant character, while, Joe Biden's a bit more of a calm guy, not really, he's not extremely loud, and doesn't have like the extremely, I wouldn't say, yeah, just would not have a loud presence. And not only that, he's just a general busy guy, has he's a politician, has a really big schedule and whatnot. And then there's also Republicans who think that like 100% this is because Joe Biden is boring. That's not exactly correct either. I just think that there's too many conflicting factors to be exactly like, oh, it's either because Ted Cruz does not want to listen to the president, or the president is boring. I don't think it's either. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, I just want to make one thing clear. It was a quote about leadership from Ted Cruz. It was one of the things that Ted Cruz had said himself. I think, and as I mentioned before, I fell asleep during the speech. Again, I'm not a congressperson, but what I am saying is I felt sympathy for Ted Cruz. And, I think that it wasn't about him being asleep or nodding off. I really don't think he was asleep. And I honestly think he did it for the cameras, because as soon as the camera turned to him, he kind of did the whole thing. I really think it was for the camera.
Well, and
But,
he wasn't really sleeping. He just nodded off.
right.
Like,
And
yeah.
It wasn't really. I feel like everybody's kind of making this too big of a deal. I'll be completely honest, but it's I really could care a little bit less about it, because it's really not that big of a deal. I think everybody just needs just calm down.
yeah, I want while you're here, I want to ask you, because we were going to do this topic. So did everybody say what they need to say about the speech? Okay, I want to talk about now Rudy Giuliani. Okay, I feel like he's a crazy guy in the subway. I swear, like he is all kinds of weird. Now he was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, which actually prosecuted him. Okay, and that he ran for many years. There was a warrant at his office and in his apartment. But did anybody see him on Tucker Carlson last night? I wish we had the clip. I wish I could play the clip.
Yeah, I remember seeing a little bit of it, but I don't watch too much Tucker Carlson. I don't really like his views too much, so.
Yeah, but I think, watching him on Tucker Carlson saying it's illegal to do, or it's illegal to say those things, I think it was very, very Nixonian to me. It kind of had like this really weird ideology about what is illegal and what isn't illegal. I think, and he was talking about Hunter Biden and different things. What is going? Can he after people leave public office, they normally go and like lay low. They go to the beach, Guantanamo Bay. They do whatever. So what is it with Rudy Giuliani? I'll ask you, DJ. What's going on with him?
I just think he's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah, David, you cut out there, but I just think, he's a Trump sycophant. That's my personal view on him, since he's been in A, as an advisor, and B, as Trump's new personal attorney. I definitely think that it's not illegal. Like, they had a warrant, and it's legal to search with a warrant, so it's definitely not illegal. And it's just one of those things. Let the investigation do its course, and there's everyone can speculate about what they could find. Like, we could say a million different things, but it's like, let the investigation play out, and that's even why they did the warrant, so they can get more, evidence and potential things that they might need in their investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna ask you quickly. Do you think David, that
Mhm.
will he be prosecuted at any
I
point?
kind of lagged out for the last a few seconds over there, but who would be prosecuted? Rudy Giuliani, you said?
Yes, yes,
I don't really know because I don't really know if it was like defamation from Dominion, right? Oh
yes.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure because um just now trying to formulate an opinion on this because like although he did put out Dominion's name a lot and all that stuff, I don't really know because the evidence is not entirely out. The case is not completely finished, so I don't really want to make my conclusion yet. But if I had to make a prediction right now, I'd say probably. I don't know. I would say probably. Yeah.
I would have to agree with that 100%, regardless of what. Like, I
Mhm.
definitely think he, if anyone on Trump's side, he would probably be one to be prosecuted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just
absolutely.
speaking from a pure logistical opinion here, not personal one. So just so you know.
No, yeah.
Thank you. Well, we thank David for coming on and sharing his views and opinions, and we hope that you come back and share more with us. So, up next, we're going to have Bread for
All
Boston
right.
on.
See you later.
Thank you, David, so much. We're going to have Bread for Boston coming on soon to talk about their new initiative and what they're doing to help with providing food safety and food security to families around the world. And so we're going to try and get them on. But can you continue, DJ, to talk about Rudy Giuliani while I figure this out?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just said, and I do agree with David, that we can't really talk on personal opinions because it's the legal, we can have personal opinions just like we have personal opinions about Donald Trump and the Republican Party. But we can't really form a legal opinion on personal views. That's the thing. So we'll just
Absolutely.
have to wait for the evidence to come out and just go along with it and see if an investigation comes about, which I personally think there will be, just because of his. Like, there's proven things without an investigation that he did it.
I think we lost DJ there for a moment.
Nope,
There
I'm
he is.
here.
Okay, we've got Bread for Boston on. Welcome so much, William. William is the chairman and CEO of one of my favorite nonprofit organizations today, Bread for Boston. Welcome to the show, William.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It is so good to see you. So, we've spoken many times before about your initiative and some of the things that you all are doing at Bedford Boston. But can you tell me why you started this initiative uh, so close in the pandemic? I mean, food security has been an issue in this country for many, many years.
Yeah, of course. So how this, Bread for Boston started, it's really just a simple idea. It's just a couple of folks that, notice what's happening around them. And this is going to sound a bit cheesy, but we're driving down a highway and we see so many, local businesses that have stores closing. Um, and in fact, I personally know a lot of people who have had their restaurants had to close down or are having a tough time with having to keep their employees or just to even pay the light bills. You know, it's really just a very heartful story of what's happening and why it's so important for us to be here. Right, so the vaccines are coming out. I was on I was as a viewer on the show for a few moments there. Vaccines coming out. The administration, the current one, I believe, is doing a decent job at pushing out the vaccine, getting everybody to be recovered. The economy's coming back, right? And for all of us, for a lot of us, things are going very well. Schools are reopening, and so many great things are happening. But we also have to realize that there is a lot of people who don't have the privilege or enough, have the financial ability to be a part of this recovery. There's still a lot of people being left behind, a lot of people who still can't afford things, still can't afford healthcare or for local businesses. They still can't afford to pay their bills or to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
Families COVID is a really terrible thing that happened to America. And it didn't really bring out any new issues, but really made a lot of the old ones really terrible, or at least brought them forth into the public conversation. And one of those things is food insecurity. Bread for Boston is mainly focused about Massachusetts. We have one of the worst food insecurity rates in the country. Over 1 million people are food insecure. About 20%, which is 1 in 5 children in Massachusetts, live in a household that's food insecure. So for everyone watching, that means their child can't get enough food every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They can't afford enough food at the dinner plate when they sit down every night. And when they go to school, their peers will be much more ready and much more satisfied with what's happening at home, which puts them in an even better environment to learn.
Yeah, I just want to ask you one quick thing. What do you say to critics of your organization? And I try to be fair in a journalistic angle. What do you say to critics that say, why not just put a GoFundMe up, or why not just donate to local food pantries? What makes your organization so much different than the many others who have come before it? Local food pantries, different things like that. And honestly, if we're talking about being in COVID-19, there are a lot of families that are relying solely on stimulus check money. So now you're asking those families to now donate money to you, which now takes away from possibly giving their children healthy meals and things like that. So how do you respond to that criticism?
Can I add one part of that question? If you could also talk about how you're educating people too about food insecurity as well.
Yeah, so that was 2 questions, but I just want to get that kind of understanding, because I've heard a lot of people say, we love what he's doing, we love what they're doing. It's just that I've seen it before. Sometimes they take the money and we don't know where the money is being allocated. So how do you combat those comments?
Yeah, and it's a criticism that is fair for those who don't know a lot about us. And of course, so I'll tackle one question at a time since like 15 questions.
Of course, yeah.
So for TJ's question, look, how are we different than a food bank? How are we different than other organizations who try doing the same thing and providing food for people, right? How are we different, and what is our identity exactly? Well, a food bank, what they do is actually they collect food and they distribute it to other people to do whatever they want with that food. What we're doing is we're hitting 2 birds with one stone, or what we in the team want to call eating 2 birds with one scone. Essentially, we raise the money. We give them to restaurants to help us package and set aside some time to help us with deliveries, thereby supporting their essential workers, thereby supporting their bills and any outstanding debts they might have. And we allocate based on equity, not on equality. To which then, which we're partnering with an organization called Project Restore us to help us deliver that food to families in need, which we're working with a lot of community organizations to get a list of who needs what and when. Now, a food bank, they don't deliver directly to families. They don't do any direct relief. They go through a plethora of connections. Now, what we do is we are directly delivering to families, and we are trying to directly put money into the hands of people who need it. It's similar to stimulus checks, right? And as for asking people who rely on stimulus checks to chip in, of course, why not just open a GoFundMe? Well, GoFundMe, they do take a commission and they do take taxes and a lot of other fees, which really limits the amount of money that we're able to provide for people. And we use something called GiveButter, which has no commission fees and no platform fees, only really a credit card processing fee.
It's amazing.
Which means it allows us to put even more money towards our efforts, which we're committed to putting 100% of our money and our fundraising towards our mission and our goals. And in fact, just this morning, we broke $11,000 after receiving a grant.
Wow.
Wow. I was pretty shocked as well. We received a grant to help pay for a lot of the services we're providing. And of course, asking people to donate, we really only ask you to donate if you can afford it, right? It's every, thing about profits. We rely on the generosity of those who have the privilege and share more of what they have. You have a lot of pork in your plate. Why not share some with the people in the cold? It's time to come together and to heal, especially now that we're on the roads to recovery. Now, to answer Jonah's question, which was, I believe, if you could come again.
Yeah, sorry. It was about how are you educating people on food insecurity?
Of course. So how we're educating is, we've put together a great team of people to, push out content and messaging about the true issues at hand. There are a lot of ways we try to educate people and a lot of ways we try and organize. One of the main ways, of course, is just direct education, which is informing them of the issue, telling them why that matters. And even if you don't live in Massachusetts, your empathy and your compassion to care for your fellow Americans is still necessary. That's one way we do things. Another way is we were working with called Empower. They have an app which is also called Empower. It helps us organize and reach out to new volunteers and new supporters and reach a whole host of new people to know about us and get to know our mission. And they've worked with a lot of organizations in the past, including a lot of democratic organizations. But generally, we try to be as diverse as possible with how we spread our message and how we get people to know. Food insecurity isn't one of those hot button topic issues that's super controversial and everybody knows where to take sides on that. It's not really gun control or abortion, but yet it's one of the issues that affects the most amount of people.
Absolutely.
And in fact, food insecurity, not just in Massachusetts, but around the world, and it disproportionately affects minority communities. 1 in 8 white communities or white families are suffering from food insecurity, which that is an abhorrent number, nonetheless. However, what's even worse is that 1 in 3 black households, they suffer from food insecurity, and 1 in 4 Latino households, and 1 in 8 Asian households.
Now, with your stats, I just want to ask, with all of that being, and I don't want to take away from your question, DJ, so we'll get to you, but I just want to ask, with that being what you're saying, and you're saying that 1 in 3 African American households are food insecure, what do you do as an organization and even as a person to make sure that those communities of African Americans and Latinos are being represented in your organization? And then also, how are you making sure that those families are being fed appropriately? Because what I've seen over the many years that I've looked at different organizations, they say that they're trying to target minorities where they have a majority Caucasian board member or board members, or they have a majority Caucasian staffers. So are you really hearing the voices of minority communities as you're making certain decisions and how you're allocating funds?
Yeah, of course. And about the point of representation, as a minority myself, I really know what it's like to be unheard or unrepresented in a lot of things. And we're proud to say that we're an organization that is really diverse and has the representation of people from all across the spectrum, whether you're gay or straight, whether you're white or black or Asian or Latino, whether you're male or female. We have a large board of people that really are coming together. And the most notable thing about that is they're all young people. And the work that we've been doing so far is really a testament to young people, and especially Meidas Varsity Blue as well. Is a testament to the power of young people and this next generation about what they're capable of doing and what they're capable of contributing to their communities. Now, as for how we directly assist, the communities that I just mentioned, we strive to serve those communities especially. We're working with, of course, Project Restore, I mentioned earlier, to gather a list of families and communities that are in need. And some of them, I believe most of our list is composed of those communities, including local unions, I believe the Chinese Progressive Association of Boston, a mutual aid network, and a lot more, these local organizations that directly serve to empower these communities, and that's what we're trying to do. We're also looking to deliver to community fridges, which in Boston, most of them are centered in Black communities or these low-income communities that don't have access to food or enough resources to make sure that they're a more prosperous neighborhood. And we aim to help them succeed as well.
Yeah. DJ, did you have a question for William?
Yeah, so this is just kind of an overarching question, not directly related to food insecurity, but I know that a lot of our viewers today are from the Massachusetts area, so how would, if anyone's interested, get involved with your organization?
Well, great. Now, if you're from Massachusetts, hello. I moved to Massachusetts about a year ago, so I still don't know what a fluffer number is. Excuse me. Now, and I say y'all a lot. Now, anyways, if you're interested in, becoming a part of Bread for Boston or, doing whatever you can to help our cause and our mission, serve those families in need and to aid, the local businesses that we've relied on for a long, long time, then of course you can head on over to breadforboston.com or visit our Instagram page or wherever you can find us on social media. It's Bread for Boston. And you can just press one of the links in our bio and sign up. It's really easy. It takes about a minute. There's a lot of ways you can help by either, applying for a staff position or becoming a volunteer. And the range of responsibilities, you go from anywhere from, making calls to people, administrative work to, helping carry out our mission, to helping plan out things in a really detailed way and make sure that people get what they deserve, and to make sure that the people who donated to us, that we keep ourselves accountable, that we follow up to the promise that we made. And that promise is that, food is a right and it's not a privilege.
Well, we thank William and the Bread for Boston team for being on the show today. You can follow him at Bread for Boston on all social media platforms and make sure you get involved. Again, William, thank you. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much, William.
Thanks for having me.
And
bye-bye.
This is especially important to have organizations like Bread for Boston, especially organizations that are spreading civic engagement. So this is great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, you know what, guys? I think this was a very impactful show today. I think people heard, people saw, people are still watching, which is incredible, right? So I think it was very, very impactful. I just, we kind of skipped over it earlier. They want to kind of go back to it again. Give Bread for Boston a follow. I mean, they do some incredible work. I pressed him with my questions because I was really, I had some honest questions for his organization. But I want to know from our team here, what do you think? And did anybody watch Tim Scott's rebuttal? Okay. I watched it in its entirety, and I thought to myself, where, in what country or what planet is he living on? What do you think, DJ, with that?
Yeah, I definitely think he has a way of appealing to people. I definitely think he has the speaking ability, let's say a Republican version of Biden. Like, he's very impactful with his words. However, his views are twisted. Let's put it that way. Saying that it's because of Operation Warp Speed we have vaccines. Yes, the beginning stages of it. However, Trump does not deserve all the credit for vaccines. Joe Biden was the one who got us on this track. Trump and the government just gave the initial funding. Also, he's just invoking religion too for the wrong reasons. Like, it's just, I don't know. He definitely gave an impactful speech to the Republican base. I don't agree with a lot of the views that he put forth. However, it's the Republican rebuttal. It's meant to be like, I agree with what Joe Biden said, and I won't agree with the Republican. but I definitely think he gave an impactful speech to his base.
Yeah, absolutely. According to NPR News, the U.S. will impose a new travel ban on India as the coronavirus wages. The Biden administration is set to enact a travel ban on all non-U.S. citizens or permanent residents coming to the country from India. Uh, with all of the COVID-19 variants around there. The policy will not apply to U.S. citizens. Um, a Biden official said lawful permanent residents and other people with exemptions would also be allowed to travel from India to the United States. Now, here's my thing with this whole travel ban thing. It, I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's like if I get a COVID test and I am able to, come back COVID free, I mean, do, do I need to be banned from the country?
I don't really think they're talking about in like our sense. Like it's the same thing with China at the beginning. It's becoming such grave a problem in their country that we don't want to risk going back to where we were last March. Like I more think that's where they're coming from with this. Just like, although it didn't really work because COVID already spread and people from China had already come here, or people traveled to China and came back. I definitely think it's not more to say, oh, you're banned from coming to the U.S. It's more just to keep our COVID totals under control. And I bet now that we've done something like this, a lot of other countries will follow with the same measure.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotta. I think with all of these travel bans and bans here and bans there, I think sometimes it can be um, just one of those interesting things where I think it's a dog whistle to I think it's a dog whistle to so many Indian Americans, just like but when we called it the China virus, it was a dog whistle to Asian Americans. I don't like it. I think, even if you are, trying to protect your citizens, which I think is a very, very important thing to do. I believe in protecting, uh, the citizens of this great nation. But I think that it was just a really interesting thing that the Biden administration did. Um, On to some good news that I think is important. Um, the mother of a gunshot victim praises the police officers who saved him. The 13-year-old uh, who was a gun violence victim says she couldn't praise the police officers enough who rushed her son to the hospital after he was wounded in a drive-by shooting this week. I think that's incredible news. This is what the police are supposed to do. This is their job. It's what they're tasked with doing. They're tasked with protecting and serving their community. So I really felt like that was a good news story that I just wanted to highlight.
What grave danger to the officer himself.
Yeah,
It's a situation, and once you, even with the use of force, because I know this is such a crazy topic, because I know not related to this story, but situations like even if you were to use of force, like if someone's resist the use no longer like once you get the person under control, like force is supposed to stop. So that it's very
yeah,
of the fact that there are good police. Like obviously there's been many that have been brought to light, but there are good police officers and there are good law enforcement officers out there. and that just deserves to be recognized just as much as, you know, the need for criminal justice reform needs to be also.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think this is the end of our broadcast today. You guys, I want to appreciate all of you for taking a little time to enjoy our view. I thank our guest, Brett for Boston. I want to thank our correspondents, Jonah and DJ, who are on today. We're this organization and what we do here at Meidas Touch is such an incredible thing. We all get to get on Instagram Live and talk about the things that are really affecting us right now. I really appreciate all of you for watching and for tuning in and for sharing with us. I want to thank David, who was our special guest co-host today. I want to thank him so much. He was just such an incredible voice of reason for the panel. You know, as I always say, it's important that you all, hear what we have to say because we are the next generation of leaders. And as DJ is sitting behind his RBJ poster today, she was a generational leader. We have to continue the work that so many Americans have continued to do. And we do that with this show every week. We want you to come back next week. We're going to have Arty on next week. We're going to have Liam on next week. It's just, and DJ, you've had some fans today. So some fans of yours were on today. And it's just such an incredible thing and an incredible opportunity to get to talk to everyone. DJ, you have anything you want to say before we head out?
Nothing really. Before I just jump off, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched and just, even give us a follow or at least look at our content just to see what we're all about. And definitely come back next week. We're going to have a lot more to talk about and a lot more special guests and, the next one.
So many things are going on. Always remember I feel like I need to say this, double and triple check your sources, okay? Don't go tweeting out into the ethernet. That's also important. So listen, I thank everyone for watching the rundown. I thank you for sharing in this time with us. We are so grateful to you. We want to thank Jordy and the brothers for putting their faith and our hope in us. We want to thank our leader, Mr. Jonah Tillman, and to all of the members of our initiative. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.